Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be discussing Samurai Shodown on the 3DO, courtesy of JVC in 1993. The 3DO version of Samurai Shodown features all of the characters from the original arcade version, unlike the Sega CD and Sega Genesis versions, which removed Earthquake in order to save space. All of the characters' different backgrounds and stages are here and accounted for, as well as all of the foreground objects that can be destroyed mid-fight. The finishing moves from the arcade version are also represented in the 3DO port, and can result in one of two outcomes. If you finish your opponent with a medium or a hard slash, one of two things can happen. Either they'll fly through the air and get cut in half, sometimes dropping coins for you to pick up, which increase your score, or, if hit just right, the weapon will fly out from your opponent, and then you'll see an arterial spray effect right before they fall to the ground to end the fight. Since the 3DO port is disc-based, there are obviously going to be some load times. It's not that there's a lot of load times, it's just that they're in a really strange spot. You would think that you would just pick a character and it would show you the two fighters and load before the fight starts, but in the 3DO, you actually get to the beginning of the start of the first round, and then the game loads. And it loads for about 6 or 7 seconds, and then the fight starts. The good news is, though, once you get past that initial loading time, there's no more loading times for the rest of the fight, at least not until the beginning of the next one. The AI in this version of Samurai Shodown is relentless. Even on easy, they will manage to pull a win out of their ass at the last possible second when you least expect it. Every time you think you've got a fight won, don't count on that win yet, because the AI in this game, especially once they have their power meter filled up, can hit you once and drain almost half of your life bar. I can't even remember how many times fights have gone to 3 rounds, just simply because I thought I had the fight won and tried to play a little more confidently, only to get smacked down by the AI right at the last second. The graphics in the 3DO version of Samurai Shodown are amazing. They look almost exactly like the arcade and Neo Geo versions. The characters in the game are all really big, colorful, and detailed. I mean, look at Earthquake. He's like half the size of the entire screen. All of the different background and stage details in the game look great. Every single frame of background animation is accounted for, and everything looks wonderful. There are some missing frames of animation here and there, especially when the action gets really hectic, but it's not going to be anything you actively notice unless you really sit down and try and pick it out. The famous camera zoom feature makes its way to the 3DO port and is really cool to see, especially when highlighting the action from across the screen or right up close. Also worth noting is the really cool disc artwork on the 3DO version of the game. Notice that it's basically like this raining blood effect on the disc with a black background and looks really awesome. When talking about the sound in the 3DO version of Samurai Shodown, it has incredible audio quality. The music is excellent. It's really, really good, and it's very clear, and you can hear everything really well, as well as the sound effects. The sound effects in the game are perfect. All of the clings and clangs of the swords hitting each other, and all the sounds of the special moves sound excellent. Oddly enough, all of the voices and voice samples in the game are strangely muffled. It's almost like playing the Super NES or Sega Genesis ports of the game, and it's really noticeable in contrast to the extremely high-quality audio that surrounds the rest of the game. When you talk about the controls in Samurai Shodown on the 3DO, you're not really aiming it at Samurai Shodown, more so at the 3DO, which causes basically the same kind of issue that most 3DO fighting games will cause, and that is that the 3DO controller is really difficult to play a fighting game with. If you notice, I'm using this Pro Pad here from Interact, which is basically set up almost exactly like a Super NES controller, but the D-pad still isn't very responsive. It can be really hard to get off your special moves, especially in the case of an emergency when you're really trying to pull out a win at the end of a round. It just isn't going to happen. So, to sum up Samurai Shodown on the 3DO, it's still an excellent port of Samurai Shodown despite a couple of issues that it has with the voice samples and the controls. As a matter of fact, it's probably the best version of Samurai Shodown you can buy for a home console, aside from the Neo Geo CD version or the original AES cart on the Neo, which will probably end up costing you an arm and a leg. The good news is this version right here is extremely affordable and only run you about maybe 10 to 20 bucks. And if you're a 3DO owner, you definitely need to add this to your collection. It's one of the few fighting games on the 3DO, and it's probably the best one. As always, guys, thanks for watching and subscribing. Until next time, stay classic.